Welcome back to the Michigan International Speedway. It's time to set the field for Sunday's race. NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying is coming up. 44 teams here for 43 positions. Beautiful afternoon weather-wise here in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Let's take a look at the championship standings through 14 races in this 2009 season. Tony Stewart with the lead over Jeff Gordon. You see Mark Martin, Casey Kahne, Juan Pablo Montoya just outside that top 12. Hi, everybody. Glad you're with us for qualifying. Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds, and Jeff Hammond. And, you know, we had a 90-minute practice session earlier. Larry, they were a handful.
They had their hands full. When they put the tape on the nose of those cars, even with the fresh tires, we saw a lot of guys get real loose. And Jeff Hammond knows. We've been coming here since, I think, 1969. These cars continue, or 79. But anyhow, they only get looser when you go to qualify. And I just think you're going to hear a lot of guys saying, my car did not drive very good when I qualified, because I just think the track is heated up. It's lost grip. And remember, our go or go homers, they're going to have to go or go home.
Jeff, we don't win or lose races based on the numbers, but this one's hard to ignore. 79 Cup races here at Michigan. 62 have been won from a top 10 starting position.
It's no different any place we go. It seems like you need to be up front. And today, I mean, it will be, again, like Larry said, and I'll make sure I understand something here. Darrell was here in 69. I wasn't, and you weren't. 79, yes, I was.
Maybe
here.
That's what I was getting. That was my first time here.
All right, make sure we get that right. But the key thing about this racetrack, it does have it's very fickle as far as when it gets hot, it gets very hard to get a hold of. And the key thing, believe it or not, qualifying, is getting these guys up to speed. Coming through turn 3, you hear us talk about it all the time. How he looked through turn 3 and 4 coming to get the green is just as important as the lap itself, because that's where you get your momentum. That's how you get that extra speed that you're going to see speeds over 200 miles an hour down these corners. Now, the other key is don't overdrive these turns, because if you get in too deep, all of a sudden it'll take off. Either get front end will lose, you lose front end, or the back end will come around on you. So you got to have driver discipline when you attack this place. And that's what we're going to be looking for during this qualifying session.
Well, Jimmie Johnson was the fastest driver. And first car out on the racetrack, driver is David Ragan. Ragan 28th fastest in practice.
The one good thing, the track didn't sit. That's when you get in trouble going out early, is when the track sits. We just had the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series out there, but I just believe this track has heated up so much over the last couple of hours since these guys were out there during their practice session.
And you know what's really funny about it, with the exception of one guy, you don't have a lot of double duty guys running trucks as well as this Sprint Cup today, so they don't have an idea of what the racetrack has really gone through. But it's a good note that you brought up about the track, this lane there versus cars being on it. For some reason, when cars or trucks out there running on it, Steve, it kind of keeps it clean. It keeps that oil kind of moved around, so it doesn't kind of like build up and you get like a really bad slick spot. So be interested to see what David Ragan does here on his first lap.
Jeff, we talked about it briefly in practice earlier today. 1 year ago, David Ragan was 13th in points. He comes to Michigan a disappointing 31st.
And I guarantee you right now, there's nobody at this track right now scratching his head any more than the guy behind this wheel right here. Jimmy Fennick's doing everything he can. Jack Roush is doing everything he can. They can't get any luck, it seems like. And they've been off a little bit as far as Roush Fenway is concerned. So it's been a tough year so far for David Ragan. And Larry, I'm not surprised to see this. I think we're going to see a lot of teams doing one lap and done.
Yeah, the good news is he did pick up a couple of tenths from what he ran in practice, so it appears that the racetrack has a little speed in it. He ran a 38.61 where he ran a 38.83 earlier in practice.
Coming up, we're scheduled to have Robbie Gordon, Marcos Ambrose, Joey Logano, and Kevin Harvick.
You know, we talk about the 6 car, but just look at Roush Fenway across the board. Look at Carl Edwards, the man that won 9 races in 2009, shut out, or in 2008, shut out in 2009. In fact, since winning those first 2 races of the season, Matt Kenseth at Daytona and California, Roush Fenway has been shut out in the Cup Series.
But I think that explains several things about how the competition's been so far this year. There's been a lot of things that have happened, a lot of circumstances that have, I think, dictated some of the winners that we have seen so far in this series. I mean, I think we'll take a look at what happened in Charlotte whenever David Rudiman wound up winning that race. Did he have the fastest car that day? No. But the weather and the way strategy played out, that really come up to kind of like be the deciding factor. We've seen that a lot this year, I think, with a lot of different winners.
Robbie Gordon has 18 Michigan starts, a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series competition.
Steve, did I see that right? Was it 204 to 205 down in the terminal at that time?
Well, you said it, just 18 degrees of banking down there, and it's a 2-mile super speedway. She's fast.
Yeah, the law of physics almost takes over. Now, Robbie in practice ran about what David Reagan ran. Robbie ran a 38.81. You notice the big red emblem on the hood. You can see his car stepping out just a little bit on the free side. But this paint scheme is in conjunction with Jim Beam. Kid Rock, he's going to be here this weekend as a special guest of the team. And also Kid Rock will be the Grand Marshal for the race on Sunday.
And he'll be on NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot.
Okay.
Cool.
10:30 Eastern.
He's a big race fan. He really is. It's not the first time he showed up here.
Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, we're down here with Kyle Busch, who's getting ready to qualify his M&M's car, and we were just talking about how much influence a driver can have inside if your car's not really good. How much can you do?
You can get a little bit. Your car has to be good in order to get a good, comfortable lap in. A driver, if he messes up, you know, a regular lap would be about a tenth slower than a perfect lap, and a messed up lap would be about a tenth slower than a regular lap. So it kind of depends on what you want to hit. But for me, we'd like to just get out there, get a good solid starting spot, hopefully get a good pit selection. But today's Friday, everybody. Everybody go to realchocolate.com. Free Chocolate Fridays. Check it out.
We like that idea. Well, let's go to Lindsay first.
Thanks, Ralph. David Reagan just saw the time that Robbie Gordon ran, and he said, oh, now I'm not happy. But you should be happy because you picked up some speed there, didn't you?
Yeah, we picked up a little speed. I'm real happy with our UPS Ford. It unloaded really fast, and it was really good in race trim earlier. So, you know, being the first out to qualify is not anything that's going to help us. But, you know, hopefully that'll be a top 15 or 20 start. We need to start building some momentum. We've been in a little bit of a slump, but our UPS team is working hard, and I'm very happy about our car, so I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and Sunday.
All right, thanks, David.
Lindsay, Marcos Ambrose, and the number 47, racesavers.com Toyota.
Marcos comes in here 18th in the points, finished 6th at Pocono. I know part of that was fuel strategy, but he actually had a top 15 car all day long.
You know, Larry, we talk about where a guy finished, and you know what, you can do the reverse of that. He had a great car at Texas, but they had mechanical problems about 2/3 of the way through that race. So that goes both ways.
And it will a lot, especially when you get into strategy races. Now, right now, Marcos ran about the same thing that he ran in practice, where Robbie Gordon and David Reagan both picked up. He's 3rd quickest.
Yeah, Robbie Gordon, he picked up almost 4/10 over what he practiced at, Larry, so he ought to be pretty happy with that number 7 Toyota. And the 47, at least he didn't step out this last time he made a qualifying effort. We watched him in practice. The car just about got away from him coming off of turn 4. It looked like a much more controllable run and about the same speed.
19-year-old Joey Logano on the racetrack. He'll be followed by Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, John Andretti, and the previously featured Kyle Busch.
Now, what Joey's going to try to do, he's doing double duty this weekend. He's running in the Nationwide Series race down in Kentucky. Right now, it's about 3:15 Eastern time. He'll get this qualifying run in, and he's going to try to make it down to Kentucky for the 2 practice sessions. The first one's at 5, the second one's at 6:45. Then he'll try to do the qualifying in the race tomorrow night down there, a place where he got his very first Nationwide Series win a year ago.
Joey makes his 18th NASCAR Sprint Cup Series start here on Sunday.
Steve, unless he can find some speed through 3 and 4, he's not going to put up the time that he did in practice.
No, he was actually 12th quickest at a 38.63. I'm not sure he's going to get there, Jeff.
He used up quite a bit of racetrack off of turn 4. I think he's got his hands full.
He almost ran the same thing that he ran in practice, just like Marcos. He ran a 63 in practice and a 62 right there.
Robbie Gordon, the quickest of 4 drivers. Stay with us. More qualifying to come here at MIS. Bakersfield, California's Kevin Harvick in the number 29 car up for his qualifying attempt. We go to Ralph.
Down here with Clint, Bowyer's getting ready to go in the number 33 Cheerios car. And boy, you guys were good in practice. 5th on the chart. Is this just the team working so hard? You guys finding a few things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what excites me the most is the race trim. You know, race trim, we were really, really good. And, you know, Shane Wilson, all the guys, hats off to everybody at RCR. You know, it's no secret we've been struggling on these bigger racetracks. Brought a new race car, been working really hard. The engine boys have been working hard. Just everybody dug deep, and you know, I feel like this is light at the end of the tunnel. So really excited about the car we brought and unloading as fast as we did. Hopefully the driver won't mess up in qualifying.
He's getting ready, Lindsay.
Yeah, Robbie Gordon is here sitting pretty right now. Tell me about your car, Robbie.
Our car was real good. You know, we tightened it up a little bit from practice. We felt that going out at 310, 312, something like that, it was going to get slick for us, so we wanted to make sure we had enough forward bite. And I didn't pedal it hard enough in turn 1. It hooked itself up, and we would have been in good shape. But you know, 40, we'll have to wait and see. Jimmie ran a 19 or something like that in practice. I think the track's gotten hotter since practice. Sun's been blaring on the track. We've had some trucks on the track. We'll see how long we can hang, but I think it'll be a good run for us.
So now you've got Kid Rock on the car. What exactly will you be able to do with him before the race?
Well, how you say, he's a great guy. He has a relationship with Jim Beam like I do. He's representing the Jim Beam, you know, the Red Stag brand. So, you know, it's cool to have him here. It's in his backyard here in Michigan, so I think he'll be down here on Sunday. It'll be a lot of fun to have him around.
Favorite song he sings?
All summer long. Come on.
All right, thanks, Robbie.
Unbelievable, guys. Not about Kid Rock, but how about Kevin Harvick? Where did he come out of that lap right there? And on top of that, he's top of the heat right now, tied with Robbie Gordon.
But because he's higher in owner points right now, that would be the tiebreaker. He picked up over a half a second.
I was just going to say, if I'm looking at these times right, these numbers, he picked up over half a second.
Oh, yeah. Very impressive run right there by Kevin Harvick. Kind of puts him more in line with his teammate, Clint Bowyer, who's talking about the work they've done and how the cars are feeling. So hopefully they've shared some information and it's turning out to be okay. And
look right here, Ryan Newman on a qualifying run. He was 9th quickest in practice earlier.
Ryan has 2 wins here and a pole. Got the pole in June of 2005.
Jeff, it's almost like he was in good shape till he got to where he turned it down into turn 3. I thought maybe he was easing it down in there, but the tracker never came back. He's going to actually be 3rd quickest.
Ryan Newman with top 5s in 5 of his last 6 races, Ralph.
You know, Steve, the thing about A.J. Allmendinger, you see he's got Stanley tools. The great thing for him on that is that means he only has 1 choice of tools, because a buffet of choices for you is a bad idea. How come?
Just too many options. I mean, we were just talking about how wide this place is and how that messes me up. I qualify terrible here, so I told my guys we might be in the top 10, we might be 40th. I don't know. It's a matter of choosing the right line. It's like eating dinner last night, Ralph. You saw me. I was putting all kinds of stuff in. My stomach hurt after that. I just need like 1 choice. So having Stanley on the car, that's a good thing. We've been running well. We haven't got the finish we needed the last few weeks, but the team's coming around. Everybody, Rich Petty Motorsports is doing a great job. But for qualifying today, I don't know what we got.
We were one of those Mongolian beef places last night, guys. You have all the choices of what you can put on there, and AJ was lost. And so that's what he's saying about Michigan. There's just such a wide racetrack. There's too many ways you can enter a corner. He says, I like it when it's a much narrower line, and there's pretty much 1 way in, 1 way out.
There are definitely a lot of options here. And guys, what I see a lot of these guys doing, and I think it goes back to what you were talking about, Jeff, you know, we have a gear rule here. You pretty much have to run a 375 gear. Is they're kind of moving up the racetrack, keeping that momentum, and that's what John Andretti's doing right now in this 34 car, because he looks like he's on a pole run.
Yes, sir.
How about that?
Get you some of that, guys.
38.45, over 187 miles an hour for this 34 car.
He was 43rd in practice, and the fastest lap he ran was a 39.60. So, man, a 2nd and 2/10 pickup.
Lindsay standing by with a guy he just bumped.
And that would be Kevin Harvick. But Kevin, you guys picked up a lot of speed there. How do you feel about the car you've got to work with?
Well, our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet was a 180 from kind of what we were doing in practice. We were trying some different things, and as good as the 33 car was, we decided just to put all their stuff in there and go from there. So I wish I could do it again, but just got to thank all my guys for doing such a great job, and getting it is so much better than what it was in practice.
How much confidence would it give this team to have a very solid finish this weekend? I mean, how much are you guys really looking for that?
Well, we hadn't had anything go right, and our cars have been slow, and we've had a lot of bad luck to go along with that too. So, you know, we need to get going and start making something happen.
Thanks, Kevin. Guys?
Yeah, he finished 2nd in the Daytona 500, followed it up about 3 weeks later with a top 5 finish at Atlanta. He has not had a top 10 finish since finishing 4th at Atlanta.
He said slow cars and bad luck.
Well, it looks like John Andretti's glory may not last but about 38 seconds, because Kyle Busch right now, but look, the tracker's kind of going the wrong way. Now it's starting to come back. He lost it right in the middle, but he's going to be in good shape. You can see he's really gaining some ground on the exit of turn 4.
Yes, he is.
This is going to be down in the 20s, I think. Hey, 38.18, 188.5 miles per hour. Woo! He's got to hurry. He's got a spot in the ARCA race.
That's right. We'll be right back.
Back here at Michigan, qualifying underway for Sunday. Kurt Busch is going to quit his car. Qualified for the race Sunday, and then your Zamboni driver. Explain that.
Man, I'm loving it. Miller Lite hooked me up with tickets to go to the Joe tonight and see Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm stoked. Never been to a real hockey game. I even lived up here in Detroit for a year and never made it to see the Wings play. So me and my wife are going and going to have a great time.
You know, word is spread quickly through the garage area that you're going, and everybody wants to know if you got an extra ticket. Can you hook a brother up?
I had one guy that's a huge diehard fan, and he found a ticket, one of the crew members on Penske, but it's unbelievable to have this opportunity and then to drive the Zamboni or ride on the Zamboni during the second intermission. It's just cool. Miller Lite's heavily involved down there, and I have them to thank for this.
I guess, Steve, we're still just going to be watching it.
I'm sure Kurt will have some input on the handling of the Zamboni.
And Pat Tryson will tell him, look, I'm not in charge of the Zamboni. I'm only in charge of the number 2 Dodge.
10-4. Michael Waltrip, 47 Michigan starts. Picked up a pole position here, June of 1991. Now, Kyle Busch is the driver to beat.
You guys had that wrong a minute ago. It's 10-4 dude.
But they just usually say 10-4 when they're done talking, like,
Over.
I got you. Yeah,
over, out.
Out. Roger.
10-4 dude.
Copy.
And I think Michael Waltrip's glad that qualifying's run over is 10-4 because he's 9th out of the 9 drivers that's qualified so far.
Coming up, Reed Sorensen, Clint Bowyer, and Brian Vickers. Lindsay.
I'm standing by here with John Andretti, who was second quick. Tell me about your car. You came out of that car all smiles.
Yeah, I mean, it's Taco Bell Chevrolet. The whole team from Road Motorsports team has done a great job. We conserved tires, so we didn't do a qualifying run really during practice. We started off that way, but they made the car so much better in race runs. We really felt like we had a good race car, and I didn't even get it all. So, you know, I'm really proud of everything this team's done. I mean, to do that, come out and do that, that was very rewarding.
All right, thanks, John. Guys.
Lindsay, 23-year-old Reed Sorensen out of Peachtree City, Georgia. Best start this year, 4th at Dover.
Well, they've been pretty solid these last, boy, his car, Jeff, just all the way up the racetrack. And you can see it. I almost get a feeling, you talked about it at the top of the show, overdriving it. The car just would not take it, went up the racetrack. But when you look at his last 7 races, 6 of those 7 races been top 20 finishes, including finishing 20th at Pocono last week. Top 20s are getting hard to come by in this sport.
123 career starts for Sorensen.
Now, he may be a car that will go ahead and run. No, he's not. I think that pretty much no engine running was a telltale sign, but I guess I just was starting to wonder with what it did to him down in 1 and 2, would he maybe be one of the guys that would go ahead and try to get a second lap in to see if he could pick up a little bit?
Well, it wasn't pretty, but it was at least faster than what he had practiced at by a couple of tenths, Larry. So that might be a determining factor also, that can't really do no better, and it was faster than what I'd been running.
Ralph's hanging out with Casey Kahne.
Yeah, Casey and his crew chief, Kenny Francis, guys leaning up on the pit wall here, still talking about setups. Are you happy with what you got?
I think so. I was pretty happy in practice. We just a little bit tight on our final run getting into the corner, but really good center off. So it seemed like our Budweiser Dodge was all right and should be pretty fast here. We did a few more things to help it turn, and it's always good to be in Michigan. It's a great race, and thanks to all of our Stanley Tools and Allstate and the people that really support us. Hopefully we can get a win for Dodge up here.
We've been talking to some of the other drivers about the wide variety of lines that you can take here. Let me ask you real quick, do you have your line picked out, or you decided as you're heading into one?
No, I already have it picked out. Now I have to hit it. I mean, I know where I want to be. Whether I get there, it's we'll see. But I was a little bit too high in practice, and I know that, and I know where I want to be.
Well, Ralph, Clint Bowyer's got a nice run going, slowed down a little bit going into 3.
But he picked it back up coming off 4, so in other words, he made sure he did not overdrive turn 3. Looks like Clint will be second quickest with this 33 car.
11 drivers have qualified. Kyle Busch on the Toyota is the quickest. Take a break here at Michigan International. Come back. We'll see Brian Vickers, A.J. Allmendinger, Bobby Labonte, and Kurt Busch. Stay with us. Later tonight on Speed, Jeff Burton joins our Friday night party / television show. He'll be on trackside. That begins at 8 o'clock. Join Jeff Hammond, Larry McReynolds, Elliott, Sadler, and yours truly. Also, Brian Scott from the Camping World Truck Series will join us.
Got that first win at Dover a couple weeks ago.
I've never met yours truly.
Oh, that's me.
Steve Burns. It wouldn't have been right for him to say Steve Burns, though.
Yeah.
Well, I would have said it then for you.
Next time I read that promo, you'd hop in.
I'm right there with you. And Steve Burns.
All I know is we have Kyle Busch that ran a 38.18, and if you just look right here at Brian Vickers, no surprise. Let's see if he can hold it, if it'll stick off turn 4. I think he might be in pretty good shape here. He used it all up, but looks like he may run down in the 38.0s possibly.
Yes, sir. 38.073. Kyle Busch is bumped by Brian Vickers, and he's standing by with Lindsay.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, but he still ran one heck of a lap. Tell me about that. Pretty safe to say that you're pretty happy with your machine.
Yeah, I mean, we were happy with it. I expected someone to beat it, so, you know, we'll take that starting spot, hopefully somewhere in the top 8. You know, the M&M's Toyota was decent when we unloaded it off the truck today in race trim, so hopefully, you know, we'll be faster yet tomorrow and be better for Sunday.
All right, Kyle has a very, very full weekend, so he's going to go, guys.
He's
racing in 3 series and spotting in the ARCA race.
Spotting for Brian Eichler in the ARCA race here a little bit later on this afternoon.
Easy, 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 AJ.
And you talked about the importance of getting through 3 and 4 coming to take the green. We actually watched AJ. He was one of those cars I was referencing in the start of the show that had his hands full with his practice qualifying run in that practice.
Just 3 Michigan starts for Allmendinger from Los Gatos, California.
Well, if it means anything as far as making up speed, getting down in the corner, 212 miles an hour down into turn 1.
Wow. And you can see he's on a pretty solid run here. Felt so bad for him last week at Pocono. I mean, he had a solid day all day long for 199 laps, ran as high as 6th and ran out of fuel on the last lap, ended up finishing 30th. But he's working on a, I thought for a minute, a front row start. Maybe about 3rd, it looks like.
He had his hands full right in the middle of that corner right there trying to keep it down.
We'll take a break from Michigan International Speedway. Brian Vickers, the man to beat. Stay with us. NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying on Speed is presented by Subway. Try the tangy new Subway Tuscan Chicken Melt, the newest fresh fit choice. Subway, eat fresh. And brought to you by Hankook. Tame the road with Hankook tires. Bobby Labonte in the Ask.com Ford Fusion out of Yates Racing. 12th fastest in practice.
Got 4 poles here and 3 wins. Driving for Joe Gibbs Racing in an 18 car.
Looking for his first top 10 start of 2009.
This will only be our 2nd Ford to attempt to qualify right now. David Reagan is 9th quickest in that Roush Fenway number 6 Ford. Bobby and crew chief Ben Leslie, they've had about a couple of months to work together now. Saw Todd Parrott actually in the garage area this morning. It's getting close to Super Speedway restrictor plate racing. He's working back at the Roush Fenway shops as well as the Yates shops on their Speedway cars.
8th overall for Bobby Labonte. Ran a 38.54. Let's go to Ralph.
Carl Edwards is all strapped into his car. Now, Carl, you guys are really looking forward towards Sunday and planning ahead, and that's why you were a little bit slow in practice today. Explain that.
Yeah, Bob looked at the weather forecast and said that, you know, there's a chance of rain tomorrow. So we focused on race trim with this Aflac Fusion. We got about 15 minutes of qualifying practice, and I hope it's good enough. You know, Greg Biffle was real fast with the 3M Fusion, and we're kind of leaning on him, I guess, a little bit, you know, hoping that speed will rub off here. But after this, I'm going to run over and practice the Scott Save-A-Lot Ford down in Kentucky. And, you know, after last week, such a great, solid week last week. We're hoping we can build on it here. But yeah, we're focusing on the race here at Michigan.
Big picture racing, Lindsay.
Ralph, you know what? Brian Vickers has had a really big week. He and his team did a pit stop in New York City. He signs a multi-year contract, and now this. You go out and smoke the field. Tell me about this.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully it holds up. You know, it's a really good lap. It was faster than we put down last year. And I didn't think we were going to be able to beat that last year. I thought last year was probably even a little bit better lap. So I think it's good. I was really happy with the car in practice. The guys did a tremendous job. We went to go get a little bit more out of it. We made it better on the exit, which I think paid off. But we hurt the center a little bit. Got a little tight down in the center 1 and 2 when I got back in the gas. But I don't think it hurt us too much. I was able to get wide open and stay in it.
Which makes practice even more crucial tomorrow, Steve.
Lindsey Kurt Busch, that front end of the race car, hitting the racetrack as he went down into turn 3.
They got a pretty aggressive shock package on that car, but I'm going to tell you, it was pretty fast because he ends up 3rd quickest. But you could see that car just every time it hit a bump, it just jumped.
Yeah, you look at me and I look at you, and that wasn't a pretty lap, but it was an effective lap.
Kurt was the fastest Dodge in practice, and he is 3rd overall right now. 2 Toyotas
it's a lot out here,
of
I guess. Thought it was gonna
Brian
be better
Vickers
now.
and Kyle Busch just in front of him. Let's take a look at our advanced auto parts menu here on Speed. Trackside at 8, Jeff Burton and Brian Scott join us. NASCAR Performance.
About that, 11 p.m. tonight. Chad Knaus, Doug Richard, and yours truly.
And yours truly.
Larry McReynolds.
And NASCAR Smarts. Got a couple of surprise guests on NASCAR Smarts. Elton Sawyer and Keith Barnwell.
Yeah, with the regulars, though, Kyle Petty
and Rutledge Wood.
That's going to be a combination. A battle royale for everybody on NASCAR Smarts.
Anxious to see what Casey Mears in this 07 car can pull off, because they actually got into the wall about the time practice started. Just a nice scrape down the right side of this 07 Chevrolet, and he was 41st quickest out of the 44 cars that are here. Qualifying run's not going to be what they're looking for, I don't think.
David Rudiman also into the wall in practice. Jeff Gordon will come out shortly to qualify. He had to change a motor.
But I'm still tight.
Let's say he just couldn't get back to the throttle. You can see the speed in miles per hour through the center of the corner way down. He was out of gas way too long.
Yeah, he's the slowest of the 16 cars that's qualified. Casey looks like he maybe will be the first car to go for this 2nd lap. See if it frees up just a little bit. Don't know if he's going to run faster on the stopwatch, but it looks like the position is not going to improve any.
Casey Mears finishes his qualifying attempt. We'll see Jeff Gordon, Casey Kahne, and Carl Edwards. 39.23.
35.
On his 2nd lap, a little bit slower. We'll take a break. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying is brought to you by Subway. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Michigan. Qualifying continuing for Sunday's Cup race, and Martin Truex strapping into his car. Martin, we're talking a little bit this morning during practice about how your team is now finally setting into the combination between the Earnhardt shops and the Ganassi shops. Is that a big part of your improvement in running?
Yeah, I think so. You know, the guys have all done a great job over there at EGR and giving us good race cars, and we just need to get some finishes. We've been running real strong the last 2 months or so, and I think we've only had one good finish, so we'll just keep working on it, and we're excited to have GE reveal on this weekend. Hopefully we can give them a good run on Sunday.
Guys, it really feels like this car was pretty good out of the box, so it could be a good qualifying run for Martin.
Well, thank you, Ralph. And as we mentioned moments ago, Jeff Gordon lost a motor. First practice. And Larry, as you've said many times in the past, this is for pit stall selection because he'll have to start from the rear.
Which we honestly know that's pretty important. I just don't, it doesn't look like this is going to be a real solid qualifying run, because when you look back at practice, he only got 5 laps of practice in. So they'll
220 water and 210 oil.
He ends up 13th of 17 cars. I'm sure they'll be looking very, very forward to those 2 practice sessions tomorrow. But yeah, pit selection, just go back to last week. What played a role, even though qualifying was washed out, in Tony Stewart and that 14 car winning that race?
Pit number 1. I mean, got him off of pit road where he needed to be and got him out front. That was the beginning of the end for a lot of guys.
Lindsay's standing by with our newest Detroit Red Wings fan.
Yeah, I was going to say NASCAR driver, Zamboni driver, whatever you want to be driver. Kurt Busch is here. He's right now third quickest, but you weren't entirely pleased with the car. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed. I thought we had a pole potential car, and the adjustments we made since practice to now were perfect. I just felt like I left it all out there. The car drove where I wanted it to be, didn't have to be close to the wall and exit, and just came up a bit short. But hey, overall, we'll be okay with that with the Miller Lite Dodge. If you're not on the pole, then you can start anywhere here in Michigan.
You guys know exactly about that, don't you?
It's important, Lindsay, no question about it. Kasey Kahne won from the pole here, June of 2006.
This will be the second race of 2009 that this Richard Petty Motorsports 9 car that they've got the new Dodge R6 engine in. They ran it at Dover a couple of weeks ago. And he actually started on the outside of the front row at Dover.
You know, guys, over the years, I've been struck. You know, we talk in terms in the garage. You guys used to do it for a living. We talked in terms of fractions of a second. We'll say Vickers ran an 07. All right, he ran a 38.07. That's 189.110 miles per hour.
That's getting it done.
Around a 2-mile, fairly flat racetrack. Yeah. Not the 30-something degrees of banking like we have
basically
at
half
Daytona.
The banking.
Half the banking that we have there.
Kasey Kahne, 5th overall. He ran a 38.41.
Now, the amazing thing, and of course, cars have changed, tires has changed, the racetrack has deteriorated, but the track record here was set back in June of 2005. Ryan Newman ran a 37.06, about a second faster than Brian Vickers, average 194.2 miles per hour.
Ralph Shaheen has Greg Biffle.
Yes, we do, and he's getting himself a drink here, getting ready to qualify. When we talked to your teammate Carl Edwards a little while ago, he said they were pretty much relying on you and your setup for qualifying. How good is that setup?
Well, I think it's pretty good. Greg Irwin and the guys, Ben and the engineer, they did a great job getting it ready to qualify. We were okay in race trim, but we switched to qualifying trim. We're pretty fast. I don't think we're quite as fast as some of those guys. They were running a couple tenths faster than us, but I think we have a top 10 car, and hopefully that setup works for Carl. We'll see.
Find out right now, Steve. He's on the track.
Thank you, Ralph. So 38.07, the time to beat. Brian Vickers laid that number down. That was a sporty lap.
Tell you what's not going to be a sporty lap is this qualifying run by Carl Edwards, even though the tracker's getting a little better as he goes through 3 and 4, but you can see right there the car just you know, 4-wheel slide.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope they got the race set up good because their qualifying setup was not what they were looking for.
Hey, I got to ask you guys a moral question.
What?
Greg Biffle left his sunglasses at the studio for this week in NASCAR. I tried them on. They fit really well.
He probably has no idea where he left them.
Finders keepers, losers weepers.
I'll give them back.
Yep, no, you're not. You're going to keep them.
I'll give them back.
No, you're
They're
not.
in my briefcase right
no,
here.
You're not.
Hey,
You have
at
no
the end of the year,
intentions of giving them back. Can
Gotta
see the
give
look
them back.
on your face.
You shamed me. I have to now. NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying on speed is presented by Gander Mountain. We live outdoors. Shop the stores, the catalog, or at gandermountain.com, where standard shipping is free all day, every day. You know, Father's Day is coming up. Maybe you could get a nice gift there at Gander Mountain.
You've already gotten a gift from Greg Biffle.
That's right. Happy Father's Day to me.
Just answer me one question. If those are Darrell Waltrip glasses you found, would you give them back to Darrell?
Well, I can answer that.
Go ahead.
I would not want sunglasses like Darrell Waltrip wears.
He wears those bright red flames on them.
I would gladly give them back.
Remember the method to his madness. That way he never loses them. Here, I don't want these things. Keep them.
Well, hang on to her. This Roush Fenway group, I know Jack Roush, he has 11 wins here, but they're going to have to roll their sleeves up from where they're going to be qualifying because he's going to be right back there with his teammate Carl Edwards. Jamie ends up 17th quickest.
I'll ask both you guys this question from your days as a crew chief. Was there an end of the track? Because this always fascinates me, where you would be more aggressive, where you'd want your driver to really wage war with the track.
No, Steve, because you've got to get through 3 and 4. We're talking about qualifying.
Yep.
You got to get through 3 and 4 to get to the start-finish line to get off into 1. So, I mean, you know, if you're talking about a place you can't afford to give up anything, you can't afford to mess up going into 1. It's kind of like a road course. You mess up in 1, you never recover back around this place. We talk about it being a momentum racetrack. You lose a lot of corner speed here. You never make it up off the corner because there's not enough banking for you to get back into it, to get down these straightaways to overcome it.
And it gets back to what you said. You don't want to overdrive turn 1 because it messes up your entire
and
lap.
I think that's the key thing when you talk to your driver, and Larry will probably tell you this, whatever you do, if you want to get me something, don't overdo it in 1. Get it coming off center out, and you can do what you want to in 3 and 4. But if you miss 1, because you got more banking here in the front straightaway than you do down the back.
And when you get off the corner, that speed's going to carry all the way down these straightaways.
Watching Paul Menard, we go back to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, of course, Dale, we got to ask you, how's it going? Is he getting better? Is he headed in the direction you wanted to go?
Yeah, everything's getting better. You know, the cars have been pretty good. We have a lot of support, all our sponsors, Amp Energy and the National Guard, all the soldiers. Everybody's been supportive, trying to get us turned around, and we're really excited about how things are going. The last couple weeks, we've been gaining on it, and you know, the car was responding pretty good in practice today. We just need to, you know, I just need to go out there and try to lay it down best I can and see what we can get.
When you talk about all the support you've been getting, what have you gotten that's meant the most to you?
Well, just, I think, you know, Amp Energy and the National Guard themselves, they really put a lot into this, and they deserve the best. And I really just want to be able to go out there and get the job done for them. We got a lot of soldiers and people at PepsiCo that really are devoted to having a successful race team and really enjoy this partnership and just want to make it worthwhile for them. So that's meaning a lot to me that they're behind us, and everybody at the Hendrick Motorsports too. Everybody's put their arm around the deal. So hopefully it's going to work out for us.
Well, no time like the present. Go get strapped in, take a crack at it, Steve.
You know what? Mike Wells, our director, is the man, because most of that interview, while Ralph was interviewing Dale Earnhardt Jr., his crew chief, Lance McGrew, was being interviewed on radio on the Sprint Vision screen.
Right over his shoulder. Yep.
Perfect.
It's what you call teamwork, guys.
That's it.
Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car out of Marietta, New Jersey. 6 Michigan starts for Martin.
13 quickest in the morning practice session. Was one of the fastest cars most of the day here, but like he's going to find the speed that he had earlier.
38.64 was his quickest lap in practice.
Picks up a little bit.
38.57. Coming up, we're going to see the guy who was fastest in practice. Can Jimmie Johnson bump Brian Vickers from the pole? We'll find out. Speed into Father's Day at Infineon Raceway in Sonoma for the Toyota Save Mart 350. Visit the speed stage all weekend and sign up to win the ultimate Father's Day race package. Go to speedtv.com, keyword promo. You could watch the race atop the number 20 Home Depot pit box.
He used a lot of racetrack right there coming off to take the green. I'm telling you right now.
But now he was the fastest cat in the alley in practice. His time was a 38.13. And if you looked at it right there, it was all the way there. But look at the tactics that he's using right here, Jeff. He eased that thing down into turn 1, but he didn't gain it all back getting off the corner. You almost wonder, did he ease off too much getting down in there?
I think you might be right. I think trying to be a little bit conservative right there may have hurt him a little bit. Let's see what he goes through 3 and 4 here. 167 through the center of the corner has been about average, and that's about where he was at. Let's see if he can inch it back. He's coming back a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
It's not going to get to the pole.
Third quickest, 38.23 for Jimmie Johnson. So Brian Vickers, Kyle Busch still 1-2.
It's like he lost a lot of ground getting into 1 car. May have been a little bit loose, and he just never recovered from that.
Larry, I asked Chad Knaus, buddy on NASCAR Performance, and mine on This Week in NASCAR, about, you know, trying to get pole positions, and he said, you know what, really, I want to be in the top 10 every week. We need to be in the top 10.
And you know, he works on Friday. That's all they work on normally, unless there's a bad forecast for Saturday. That's all they work on is qualifying.
Let's go to Ralph.
Down here with Juan Pablo Montoya stretching out before he gets in the car. Man, what a blistering lap he put down in practice. Number 4 on the chart. Is the car really that good, or did you just hit it right in that lap?
I think the car is that good. You know, we had a great race pace before that. every run we did, we went a little faster. It's just, you know, you got to put a decent lap in and see what happens. You know, I think we made a lot of progress with the car in the last few weeks, and you know, this target car has been incredible, so it's pretty cool.
Well, the last thing these guys want to do is give him any momentum going into next week, too, guys. If he has a great run here this weekend, look out, because you know he's got next week circled on the calendar.
The way those boys been running, I'd say him and Brian Patty in that 42 group, they will be a force to reckon with next week at the road course.
I think we're going to see some different names at the top of the leaderboard when we get to Infineon. Not the usual Tony Stewart's, Jeff Gordon's. I think they're going to be there, but Juan Pablo Montoya, Marcus Ambrose, Ryan Newman. I think some of these guys right here be kind of like laying the weeds a little bit. They're going to be up there really, you know, rocking their world.
Maybe like this guy in practice who was 20th quickest. Now David Ruderman is 4th quickest with his 00 car.
Brushing the wall didn't hurt him early in practice, did it?
Man, just slowed him down for a while.
Nice pickup for David Ruderman, 38.74, his quickest time in practice. He runs a 38.27.
Half a second. He's got where he has become quite the little qualifier.
He did tell me something today. When you got good cars, it makes you look good. And I think that's the key thing right now. Michael Waltrip Racing, they've really made some great improvements over there. And the talent that David Ruderman has always possessed is finally getting to the surface.
Biffle getting that high run through 3 and 4, coming to take the green flag.
Now, I don't know a whole lot about Greg Biffle, but I'll be willing to bet you when he drives off down here in turn 1, it'll be a pretty impressive lap.
Look at that.
209. A little bit of brake. Wasn't off the throttle much.
Losing it off that corner right there, Larry. You couldn't get back, I think, wide open like you really need to, or keep the car going like you wanted. He continues to lose speed down the back straightaway.
After Greg Biffle, we'll see Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Elliott Sadler.
Now the fastest Ford right now is Bobby Labonte, who is 12th. The fastest Roush Fenway car is David Reagan, who's 15. That's about where Greg Biffle's going to end up, 15.
Yep, 38.59.
58.
Brian Vickers still the man to beat here at the Michigan International Speedway. You're watching NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying.
And welcome back to Sprint Cup qualifying here on Speed. I'm standing by with Jimmie Johnson, who is 3rd quickest right now, but you were apologizing to your team after that run. Why?
I kind of guessed wrong on the grip level of 1. I just got in there a little too soft and knew I was behind, and then went down into turn 3 and tried to make up the time, and I feel like I then gave some back, you know, so I just kind of over-adjusted. But the guys gave me a great race car. I knew that we had a shot at the pole. I think the car was better than what the driver did, and I'll have to make it up to him on Sunday.
What are you looking for tomorrow when you hit that track for practice?
Just really a car that the balance will hang on for a long time. You can move around, as we all know, but if you can keep the tires on it and keep that consistent balance over the long haul, you'll be good all day long here. And the last 2 times we've been awfully close to victory here. I think that hopefully this time we can get it done.
Could be their week, Steve.
Yeah, this is one of only 6 racetracks out of our 22 that Jimmie Johnson and that 48 team, they have not won on.
Tony Stewart picked up a win here back in 2000, the June race. His best start is 2nd in 2003.
But Jeff, it makes me feel good that Jimmie Johnson supported exactly what we saw on that tracker.
Well, again, he's a very honest individual, and again, what we saw and what the tracker was telling us right there kind of, you know, backed all that up before we ever got a chance to talk to Jimmie, so that's a good thing.
Looking at Tony Stewart, of course, we know he's the points leader for the 2nd week in a row. This is the earliest in his career he has ever led the points, and he has scored, check this out, 429 more points at this point versus this point a year ago.
You know, not only that, how about the run that his teammate Ryan Newman is on?
Right,
top 5s in 5 of the last 6 races.
Well, earlier in the practice session, Larry was talking about how do you make up ground, and this our point deal. All you got to do is do what Ryan Newman did. You don't have to win. You just got to be in that top 10 and that top 5 regularly. You can score a lot of points. You can make up a lot of ground on a lot of teams.
Defending champion of this race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. started 3rd a year ago. As you're watching Sprint Cup qualifying presented by Subway.
Defending champion, of course, the last time that he went to victory lane with this 88 car 1 year ago.
That was his 18th career win. By the way, Tony Stewart's win last week, his 34th.
You know, I keep getting asked, do I think that he will make the chase? And, you know, right now, I don't even think that needs to be on their radar. You know, he's 20th in the points, 245 points out. Don't worry about the chase. Honestly, don't even worry about winning a race right now. Just worry about getting back to some top 10 runs, maybe some top 5s.
Improvement, that's their goal.
Exactly. They're going to have their work cut out for them on Sunday, though. 22nd quickest.
Pass, first center, pass center to the exit.
So it's a little bit tight in the center for Dale Earnhardt Jr. As Larry said, 22nd out of 27 drivers who have qualified. We have 44 teams here for 43 starting positions. And up next, we have Elliott Sadler. He'll be followed by Matt Kenseth, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Jeff Burton.
Elliott was 34th quickest in practice earlier today. When you look at Elliott's runs here, he's finished in the top 10 in 3 of his last 5 Michigan races. And actually has started in the top 5 3 of his last 5 races here. So normally this has been a good track for him for qualifying.
Elliott jumped right back in the seat at trackside, didn't he?
Like he'd never been gone. Brought his notes.
After he threw Rutledge Wood out of the seat. I was getting a little bit nervous when Rutledge was sitting there.
You and me both. Looks like this May, he's working on it being a top 15 run and just flirting with it. Lost a lot of ground off turn 4, it looked like.
Larry, you're involved in the TNT races. Is Rutledge really going to ride to California with Kyle Petty in the sidecar of that motorcycle?
That's what the word on the street is.
Word on the street is he rode from North Carolina to Michigan first leg. He had to keep him awake though. He kept going to sleep.
Kyle Petty's my new hero.
Tomorrow on Speed, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series teams race into the Irish Hills. Who will claim the Motor City bragging rights this year? Tune in tomorrow at 1:30. Chris Devoda has the setup.
Those little trucks are just about all but running wide open around this 2-mile racetrack.
Michael Waltrip said during practice, he said Mike Skinner sits on the pole about every race. Let's go to Ralph.
Well, no laughing going on in here right now. Max Papis getting strapped in. You've got a big challenge ahead of you because you got to go as fast as you can to make this field. 40th quick in practice. How do you get yourself mentally prepared knowing that it's all on the line here now, Max?
First of all, let me say hi to my family at home. And, you know, we have a pretty good car with the Geico Toyota. You know, we struggle a little bit in practice, but how I do it is just go out and drive it as hard as I can. That's what I can tell you. Like, you know, it's, for me, every day is like going to the university and doing the final exams. And it's definitely tough. You know, we knew that it was going to be tough, but I have a, you know, great group of people with me in the Geico team. So I feel confident, and we are in all together, you know, win or lose. So I really feel that there's no finger pointing there. You know, we're just a good team, and you know, we have a lot to learn, but we push hard. Let me tell you, I'm pushing as hard as I can.
Mad Max hoping for an A on this test.
Thank you, Ralph. Matt Kenseth clocks in 13th overall. Another 2-time winner for Roush Fenway Racing here at Michigan.
But he becomes the fastest Ford and, of course, the fastest Roush Fenway car. We have one more Ford left to qualify. It'll be in the Go Homers, Bill Elliott.
Well, let's see what Juan Pablo Montoya can do in that 42 car for Earnhardt Ganassi Racing.
Juan and this group right here, they're one of those teams that just, they're solid every week. They actually had a good finish last week. They didn't have a very good race car. They were one of the wave-by cars. They got back on the lead lap. They worked the strategy, finished 8th. Right now, he's only 62 points out of the top 12 back in 15th. It's almost like they get close, and then they'll have one bad run to set them back. But I think if they can have a good run here, we know we're headed to the road course, and right now this is looking like a pretty solid qualifying run for him.
Yes, it is. I thought he gave up way too much to the center 1 and 2, but he really rallied back down the back straightaway, and it's like he eases it in there and really concentrates on making it late exit, you know, pickup. And it's going to definitely be a top 10 qualifying effort. Thought he was going to make top 5, but he'll wind up being 7th quickest.
Hey, how'd you guys like the double file restarts? I thought they were exciting.
I thought it was very exciting, and you know what? It's only going to get more exciting. We get to the road course next week. Remember, the road course, other than the start of the race, we've never had double file restarts of any kind at a road course.
I can't watch to see what's going to happen as they go up the top of the hill again. on the start of a race, everybody's willing to give and take, but on a restart, I don't think there's going to be much patience.
Well, Ralph standing by with a guy who's always on the pole, according to Michael Waltrip, in the truck series.
That would be Mike Skinner. Now, Mike, talking about the trucks, the guys are saying in the booth, it's pretty much flat out around here in the truck. How about in the Cup car?
Nowhere near it. You know, the fence is really, really thin with this Cup car, and we kind of keep getting on both sides of it. I hate it for Tommy Baldwin Racing. We're just going to go out here and suck it up and see what we can do, and hopefully we can get this thing in the show.
All right, best of luck to you.
I'm going to tell you what, when it comes to get one in the show, that's the guy I want behind that buckled in that race car, because he will step it up and man up and do all he can. When Mike Skinner qualifies, whether he qualifies first or 41st, you know he's given 110%. Once in a while I'd say, Mike, just give me 100% today. Don't give me 110.
He always empties the bucket.
He has both feet up on the dash, and he is making it happen when he's qualifying. Another Richard Childers entry. Our guy's going to be on trackside later on tonight, Jeff Burton in his cat car.
Jeff has 2 Michigan poles, 1996 and then again in 2006.
Going to end up 19th. You know, he sits 10th in the points. The big number for Jeff Burton, he's completed all but 4 laps of competition in 2009.
We'll step away for a minute. We come back, we'll see David Stremme, Denny Hamlin, Mark Martin, Sam Hornish. David Stremme spent some time atop the timing and scoring monitor in practice earlier today at a 90-minute practice from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m.
But he did end up 6th quickest when it was all said and done, so he was pretty solid in that practice session.
2nd quick of the Dodges.
And you got to believe that if his teammate Kurt Busch is 5th quickest, he's got to have a pretty similar setup and have the same capabilities of getting in the top 5 that Kurt does.
I tell you what, he drove it down into turn 1 and got by with it for the most part. He gave up a little bit, but not near what you would expect, because that thing went all the way to the pole on the tracker getting in the corner. Let's see what he does down here in 3 and 4. Continues to lose ground the deeper into this run he goes.
Larry, I'm just wondering if he got all the goodie off the tires by sliding as far as he did. He was in the gas, the car was sliding pretty bad.
Yeah, he'll be pretty disappointed in this, as we mentioned, considering he was 6th quickest, ends up 23rd right now with this 12 car.
23rd of 32 drivers who have qualified here at Michigan.
David comes in here 30th in the Sprint Cup Series points.
We'll have Denny Hamlin, Mark Martin, Sam Hornish Jr. Then knockout qualifying will begin.
And you know, looking back at that practice sheet from this morning, that knockout go or go home qualifying is going to be a nail biter. I know we're only going to send 1 car home, but that group, they were close, tight together in practice.
It's going to be whoever makes the least amount of mistakes going to wind up making the show. And it'll be so easy for somebody, once again, to overdrive turn 1 or not come to the green aggressively enough and get themselves behind.
Denny has 4 top 10 starts in 6 attempts here at Michigan.
He was 7th quickest in practice. This is a brand new race car they've brought here to Michigan for Denny.
He's lost 7 spots in the points over the last 2 races. We talked about him having problems on the very first lap at Pocono.
Again, Steve, do you see how quickly he drove all the way in to get to be running a speed good enough to sit on the pole? Now he's dropped all the way back to 22nd. This is what we're talking about. When you overdrive the corner, getting into 1, how much it'll hurt you for the rest of that lap. Now he's starting to gain back a little bit. He didn't quite drive it in as deep down in turn 3, and he's going to gain some of it back, but it's so easy to hurt yourself. He's making a great comeback right there off of turn 4. Going to wind up getting himself 14th quickest at a 38.49, but gave up a lot of time down there in turn 1 and 2.
Brian Vickers still the man to beat. Let's go to Ralph.
Well, we were talking about knockout qualifying, David Gilliland. I know qualifying itself is tough, but how much tougher is knockout qualifying?
it's tough. You know, it's something that, you know, in the last couple of years I haven't really had to do. We were, you know, obviously ahead of the cutoff in the points there, but this year's been kind of tough. You know, I came on with TRG Motorsports at the beginning of the year, and they had missed Daytona, so each and every week we had to do it, and it's definitely tough. It's nerve-wracking. Definitely don't sleep as much as you'd like to on Thursday nights, but it's okay. I mean, we're getting used to it. We've you know, qualified for every race that we've tried, and you know, it's good. I mean, we got chartered air transport on the car this weekend, and feel real good about it. We're a little too loose in qualifying in practice, but I think Slugger and the guys have made some good adjustments. So I'm looking forward to getting out there and seeing what we got.
Fingers crossed as he gets strapped to the car, guys.
Ralph, four-time Michigan winner Mark Martin up on the wheel.
Mark was 10th quickest. He was the fastest when the track opened for practice, which was not unusual. That's pretty much about every week, everywhere we go. It was all said and done, though. Mark was 10th quickest. His time was a 38:54. You know, Steve, you mentioned me being part of the TNT broadcast. Boy, I'm so proud of a piece that we're going to have in our NASCAR Live pre-race show that's on at 12:30. I did one of our Pride of NASCAR pieces. I did it on our buddy DW, and that's going to air during that pre-race show, so that's going to be really cool.
Not what Mark Martin was looking for. Just 30th overall of 34 drivers. There's 10 drivers remaining. Can Brian Vickers hang on for the pole? We'll find out. Stay with us here in Michigan. Sam Hornish out of Defiance, Ohio on the racetrack. Let's go to Ralph.
Blaney down here getting ready to get in his car. All right, Dave, how's your machine? Is it going to be good enough to get through the knockout qualifying?
Oh, I believe so. Well, we started off really kind of way off today and really loose, and it took us, you know, 3 runs to kind of catch up. So we were a little bit behind, and but the very last run was pretty good. So hopefully it'll carry over here and be okay. But you got to make that lap.
He's getting ready to do it too. He's going to be coming up here real soon.
If you ain't careful, he'll get ready to get run over by that engine cart.
He can't get out of the way, can he?
No. That big cart they keep hooked to the cars to keep the oil heated up to the tank, so when they crank them up, they're ready to perform.
Poor Sam Hornish, he has got his hands full on this qualifying run with a 77 car. The car was all the way up the racetrack down in 1 and 2. Had a great run here a year ago. Led some laps up there battling for the lead.
Yeah, look for a minute, Larry, like he was headed back to Defiance, Ohio.
He was about to run out of real estate down there in 1 and 2.
But you talked about that in the opening, about how this racetrack is very temperamental and it sneaks up on some people, and if you go the wrong way on the adjustment, it doesn't have the grip you're looking for, it can be a very miserable ride around this place.
You see on your screen Sam Hornish Jr. just 32nd, but guys, let's put it in perspective. 35 drivers have qualified. Every single one of them has run a lap in the 38-second bracket.
Yeah, and we're talking about some real ugly cars back there. So I mean, they did a pretty phenomenal job to run what they did to make it work like it's working right now. So very tight field when you think about it.
Take a look at the drivers in the go or go home boats. You see to the right-hand column where they ranked in practice. We had a 90-minute practice from 11:30 to 1.
I think Max Papis is going to kind of set the tone for what goes on here. If he runs a good lap, they're going to have to, everybody knows they're going to have to pick it up and make it happen. If he happens to make a whoops, well, it's going to leave the door open for a lot of other guys.
Well, he ran a 39:43 in practice, and we watched that practice qualifying run. He pretty much had his hands full of this 13 car when he did that.
His best start of 2009, 22nd at Darlington. His best finish, 18th at Talladega.
He didn't overdrive the corner, Larry, but he definitely did not get back in the throttle aggressively enough right in the center to make it really, you know, run down that back straightaway like he needed to. Way off getting into turn 3 as far as what we've seen all day long. We've been seeing average speeds of about 201 miles an hour into turn 3, and he was only about 197.
Yeah, this is probably not going to be the qualifying run they're going to be looking for. They end up 36, but of course that doesn't mean a whole lot yet. All you're trying to do is right now, to be absolute safe, you need to beat 2 cars, because we know Bill Elliott's going to be in this show no matter what.
Bill's got that past champions provisional.
I mean, we're sitting here, you know, being critical about the lap that he's run here, but he did pick up a little over 2/10 from what he practiced at. But that's you know, you'd like to have been in the 38s. If you'd gotten the 38s, you would have felt a whole lot better about your effort.
Now, this will be pretty common right here, these go-or-go-homers running this second lap. I think when we'll see them not run the second lap is when they run the first one and the crew chief says you're in, that's good enough.
Max picks up slows down on his second lap. Let's go to Ralph.
Well, front row Joe is going to be the last to go today. Is that good, bad, or indifferent?
I don't think it matters. You know, the big thing is our Toyota Camry's running good. Need a sponsor for this thing, but I think we're running good enough to make it in. I think we're third quickest of the guys in our class here, the go-or-go-homers, to get in the race, and just doing the best we can. You know, we started out with a new Goodyear right side tires. Seemed like everybody was extremely loose. I mean, I was out there swatting flies and just trying not to crash, and we had to do a lot of work to the car, but got a lot better, and I'm pretty comfortable.
Well, and he's got a lot of blue on that car, guys, that he's trying to cover up. He's been telling me he's working twice as hard outside of the car to get sponsors as he is just to make the car go fast inside the car.
And he's qualified for all but 2 races this year. He missed the Daytona 500 barely and missed the Texas race. Joe mentioned the tire. This is actually the tire combination that we raced left and right at Dover a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Mike Skinner's best Michigan start, second in August of 1999 when Larry Mack was the crew chief.
I was, yeah. I'm telling you, on qualifying day, I loved him to death on race day, but on qualifying day, I'm telling you, he was my hero no matter where we were at.
Well, he's not going to be able to get it done today. It'll look like it's going to be just not quite quick enough, both through the center of the corner and the speed down the straightaway just didn't really pay out. He is definitely slower than Max Papis, but he's going to go for 2, Mike, and see what Mike can do here.
Yeah, I mean, you got to. The last thing you'd want to do is miss this show, even though we've only had 2 cars run a second lap and nobody picked up. You want to go down swinging. You'd hate to not run that second lap and miss this show and go, gosh, wonder if I'd have run the second lap. You know, I talked to so many of these drivers and so many of these crew chiefs on these go-or-go-home cars, and they say it's the worst, most gut-wrenching thing that you can go through on Friday or qualifying day.
Well, Mike does not pick up on his second lap. When we come back, we'll see also Bill Elliott, Tony Raines, and Sterling Marlin. Bill Elliott in that 21 car for the Wood brothers. Larry said he's got the champion's provisional, but he was pretty good in practice, 19th overall for Elliott.
You know, we were talking about this in the practice session earlier. You know, Bill Elliott has 7 wins here, not to mention also 29 top 10 finishes. But the Wood brothers, the 21 car, they've got 11 wins, so combined 18 wins out of the 79 races we've run here with that combination. And I think Bill knows that he's got a fast race car, and this is probably, even though it looks like it's going to be an awesome lap, no pun intended, I think it's just going to be a nice, safe, conservative lap.
Yeah, I'm like you, Larry. I think he's got plenty fast race car. If he had to push it a little bit harder, I think he could, but I think Bill Elliott knows what he needs to do to get this number 21 car in the race, and that's what's going to be important. It's going to be a very solid lap right now for Bill Elliott. 15th quickest at a 38.52.
So we know he'll race on time, and that also makes Max Papis in the 13 car good to go.
Max is locked in.
So the remaining cars out there know now they have to run better than the 39.339. They can run a 3.38. They can get in this race.
And it could come down to that based on what we saw in practice.
Exactly. And right now, Mike Skinner has got to sit there and just, what do you say, sweat bullets?
Yep.
Or you sweat bullets, or would you throw up? Which one would you think you'd be doing?
Both. Probably both.
Okay.
Tony Raines aboard that number 37 Long John Silver's Dodge Charger.
He was actually about a 10th and a half quicker than Mike Skinner in practice. Or actually quite a bit quicker than Mike Skinner. He was a 10th and a half quicker than Max Papis. Tony's time was a 39.28 in practice.
Yeah, Mike was the slowest guy in practice today. So if for some reason he can't make the show, the fastest 43 cars will run here on Sunday.
And he looks like Tony's on track to run right there about where Max Papis and Mike Skinner's at right now, just right on top of them.
Brian Vickers has put down the fastest lap. He ran a 38.07.
You're in 39.01.
See, there's what I was talking about. The crew chief now can safely, watching the scoring monitor, tell Tony you're in. You don't have to worry about running that second lap.
Final drivers to qualify: Sterling Marlin, David Gilliland, Dave Blaney, Scott Speed, and Joe Nemechek. Back at the Michigan International Speedway, we're going to find out who will make the field and if Brian Vickers can hang on for his 8th career pole.
Tell you what, I'm a little nervous for this 09 car in Sterling Marlin because they were 42nd quickest in practice earlier. So as Jeff pointed out, he has to run at least a 39.338 to beat Mike Skinner.
We know that Max Papis, Tony Raines, and Bill Elliott are locked into the show.
Sterling has a win here, one driving for Ganassi Racing back in August of 2001.
And 44 starts on this 2-mile super speedway.
And Jeff, he's sitting right there halfway down the back straightaway, just right in that same area as Max Papis and Mike Skinner. You can see on the tracker right there.
What he does through the center here is going to really dictate what's going on here. 164 miles an hour. He's quicker through the center of the corner than what Mike Skinner was. It should be good enough to beat Mike Skinner and get this 09 car in the race. And it is.
Yeah, he beats Mike Skinner and Max Papis, and Sterling will race on Sunday.
What I've been watching is how much, not what you drop, but also how long are you out of the throttle, right through the center of the corners has really been kind of like the determining factor how good your lap is here, even with the cars that are just trying to get through the knockout qualifying, just like it was earlier with Brian Vickers and guys like Kyle Busch and Jimmie Johnson.
Let's go back to Lindsay.
And I'm standing here alongside Bill Elliott. Bill, a very strong lap, but were you being a bit conservative? Could you have gotten better than 15?
Yeah, I think it slid the nose down a little bit in 3 and 4, and I wasn't expecting that. I mean, everything I'd done in practice, the car had been just a little bit freer. And when I got down there, I couldn't believe it. And then I couldn't get the throttle like I wanted to. But I'm telling you what, these guys, my hat's off to these guys. They have done an awesome job. We went to the All-Star race at Charlotte and was so-so and came back for the 600 and was, I mean, we really found some stuff. We felt like we gained a lot going into we did an Indy tire test there, and we felt like we gained some stuff there, and I mean, it just keeps paying off week in and week out. I mean, we just need to keep expanding what we're doing, but I'll tell you what, this Ford Motorcraft Bunch has done a great job.
Bill Elliott extremely pleased with his crew, guys.
Thank you, Lindsay. David Gilliland in that number 71 in a Chevrolet. And Larry, you mentioned earlier, a bit of an R&D effort here in collaboration with Richard Childress Racing.
Well, this group, TRG Motorsports, they get their engines from Richard Childress Racing. And this group has actually been going out and qualifying and running pretty good with not a lot to do it. They still are looking for sponsorship. So this is pretty much a Richard Childress R&D car for David Gilliland. And the good news is they'll be able to gather information on Sunday's race from it because he's in at 34th quickest.
38.801 seconds.
This team plans on racing all day on Sunday, and actually Slugger Labby, the crew chief, told me that they plan on racing all day the next 4 races. Still looking for sponsorship though. See that Charter Air Transport on the quarter panel? That's a charter company that's trying to help some of the little teams in their travel, like TRG Motorsports, like Tommy Baldwin. Just help them with reasonable rates with a charter service to get to and from the racetrack.
You know, all those expenses add up. It's not just the race car. You got to get here and get home.
Guys, I don't know how much it's going to either help him or hurt him, but he used up a lot of racetrack up there in 3 and 4. Dave Blaney did come to take the green here. See what kind of speed he can put down, getting down into turn 1. Like I say, he's seen speeds up over 207 miles an hour, 210. He was not quite as quick as a lot of guys, but through the center here is where it's going to be so important. And he's able to maintain a pretty good exit speed down off of turn 2.
Just 2 drivers left to qualify after Dave Blaney, Scott Speed and Joe Nemechek.
Going off into turn 3, he looks like he's on the faster side of the
He's
Cody
good.
Raines, Sterling Marlin, Max Papis, and Mike Skinner.
Get back here to start finish line. He gave up a little bit off of turn 4, a little bit more than I thought he would.
He's going to be right in the middle of that group that I just talked about. 38th quickest. He runs in the 38-second bracket at a 38.93.
But we keep talking about how tight this group is, Larry. 38.93, 39 flat, 39 flat, 39.20.
And 38 drivers have run a 38-second lap.
I think I'm going to throw up, Steve.
For him, Scott Speed and Joe Nemechek. NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying on Speed is presented by Subway. Try the tangy new Subway Tuscan Chicken Melt, the newest fresh fit choice. Subway, eat fresh. Final 2 drivers to qualify: Scott Speed in the 82, Joe Nemechek in the 87.
Larry, you're Scott Speed's crew chief right now. You know what's got to happen. You've seen your practice times. What do you tell your driver?
Pretty much, I'm sure what Bill Elliott did. Just get me a nice conservative lap in, because Scott was actually 25th in practice. He ran a 38.79. And right now he's looking in great shape. In fact, he's working on becoming the fastest of the go-home.
He's trying to crack the top 10 here in that 82 car and trying to keep up with his teammate, Brian Vickers, who's on the pole. He had drove it off into turn 3.
He's going to pay the price from the center off. I think he's still going to be more than safe. This will be his very first Sprint Cup Series start here. He did run ARCA in the Truck Series here, and he will end up 21st, so he will race second fastest of the go-homes.
Let's go to Lindsay.
Thanks, Steve. You heard David Gilliland telling Ralph Shaheen that you can lose some sleep over wondering if you're not going to make a race, and you did. So tell me, how'd you feel the car was out there?
Yeah, we're good. The car was good. It was the best it's been all day, and I just overdrove 3 a little bit, trying to just get too much out of it, I guess. So got through 1 and 2 really well, and just gave up a little bit. Never got down where I needed to be, but we're in the race, and we can work on it tomorrow and get it driving really good. I feel like it's going to race really good. It hasn't been tight all weekend, and usually that's what you fight with these cars. So I look forward to it. We got Charter Air Transport on the car, and I'm really excited to have them guys on the car, and look forward to what we can do this Sunday.
And you can sleep tonight.
Yeah, and I'll sleep tonight. Thanks.
And Steve, that's a team that has qualified for every single race as go-homers since David got in the car at the second race of the year at the Auto Club Speedway.
That's what you call playing under pressure.
Every week.
Here's another guy that's been doing that pretty well himself, is Joe Nemechek now. Joe's got a lot more experience, I think, as far as making good, solid qualifying runs. But, man, he drove it in there, and that 87 car did not stick at all.
So Mike Skinner, we're going to find out if he's in or if it's Joe Nemechek. All comes down to this.
One more corner is going to determine. Right now he's picking back up a little bit, entering turn 3. He gains back a little ground.
203 going off into turn 3. Slowest speed in the corner, 162. It's not going to be anything to write home about, but at least he'll be able to write home and say, I'm racing on Sunday.
That's it. That's about all it's going to
amount.
amount.
Matters. So unfortunately, Mike Skinner is bumped out of the show. The only driver, the only team not to make it. Joe Nemechek locks himself in.
But yeah, 39.267 gets in the show. A 39.339 goes home.
Brian Vickers picks up his 8th career pole, his 2nd here at Michigan. We'll talk to him when we come back. Stay with us here in Michigan. Let's take a look at your front row starters for the LifeLock 400. Brian Vickers scores his 3rd pole position of 2009. Kyle Busch in the Toyota, all Toyota front row alongside.
What a way for Brian Vickers to say thank you to the guys at Red Bull for having the faith to re-up him for a long contract, put these guys on the pole. They've been running strong, and this could be a good weekend for them.
8th career pole for Brian Vickers. Ralph Shaheen is with him.
Well, Brian, congratulations on the pole. Is it as good a race car as it is a qualifying machine?
Oh, we're going to find out tomorrow. I think it is. You know, we unloaded in a race trim, made two race runs. I was really happy with the car. You know, we knew we had to make some gains in, rear grip up off the corner, which we fought in qualifying trim when we first went to it as well. And we ended up fixing it in qualifying trim, so hopefully we can do the same tomorrow.
And this is the 2nd pole you've had here at Michigan since you've been with the Red Bull guys. What is it about you, this team, and this racetrack?
I don't know. It's a great question. If we could figure out exactly what that chemistry was, we'd apply it everywhere else. We've had 2 really good qualifying efforts here. We've always run really well here. We thought we had a win last year and some mix up there at the end of the race with the positioning on the last restart, but hopefully we can get it back today.
This team has been making huge gains. Are the gains coming just as good for race trim? Do you really feel like you've got everything you need right now to maybe go after that win come Sunday?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, to be honest with you, I found that our race trim is typically better than our qualifying trim. You know, typically we're always a really good race car, a good long-run race car. It just so happened that we've gotten 3 poles this year, which is wonderful. You know, I mean, that's our job as well, is to sit on the pole, and it makes the racing a lot easier. I mean, it's not as much the track position. I mean, it definitely helps, but a lot of it's the pit position. You know, getting that first box out always is a huge advantage.
All right, go pick up your hardware. Congratulations. He gets another pole. Lindsay.
And I am standing here beside Scott Speed at 21st starting spot. Tell me about your lap, and do you feel this car is going to be good enough in the race tomorrow?
We sure hope so. I mean, honestly, that's kind of the stuff we work on tomorrow, but it was important today just to get a solid run in, not to do anything crazy. We know we had a good package here. We've always ran good at this track historically for Red Bull. And yeah, it was a good, safe run for us. It'll put us solidly in the show and something good to build off for tomorrow.
What is the key going to be for you at this track tomorrow?
I don't know. That's what I don't know.
Look into your crystal ball, Scott. Come on.
I'll tell you after. I mean, it's our first time here in one of these things, and we'll see. I mean, the biggest thing is to be consistent and have a good base and just to be solid all day.
Good answer. All right, Scott, you're off the hook. Go ahead. Now we come over here to Joe Nemechek. Joe, you qualified for a 40th spot. Tell me, what did you feel in your car today, and how good is this thing going to be tomorrow?
I don't know. You know, we worked on qualifying runs. Basically, went through one set of tires today and made one qualifying run there at the end. But my qualifying lap, I just a little bit too free. I thought I had a pretty decent 1 and 2 segment time, and 3 and 4 I just way too loose. You know, when you put these things on the edge and you're trying to get all the power you can to the ground, if you miss it by a little bit, it's a lot. And it just seems like the track's really sensitive this time. But just glad we got our car in the show, working hard trying to find sponsorship, and love what I'm doing.
Last question before I let you go. What do you think about the double file restarts tomorrow Sunday rather, at this track?
I think it's going to be interesting. You know, I think it's a really good move on NASCAR's part. I think the fans spoke up and said, hey, we want some more excitement, and this is something that'll help. And I think it's good. You know, it's a lot of the competitors probably don't think it's the best, but it definitely makes for a more exciting restart. You know, when you're all single file and you're stretched out the whole length of the straightaway, it's not very much fun for the fans. So as a driver, I like it better. I mean, all of a sudden, if I'm running 20th, next thing you know, I'm 10th on the outside row, and I've got a good shot, you know, especially when it gets down to the end of the race.
Joe Nemechek, Love and Life. He'll start 40th on Sunday. Steve?
Lindsay, let's take a look at the starting lineup. And you know, guys, for Brian Vickers, they've had speed this year. They've had good speed. They just haven't been able to close the deal. A couple problems on pit road, but they've been close to winning.
Now, I'm going to tell you what, though, and they have, especially you go back to Atlanta, but the most impressive thing, Steve and Jeff, about this qualifying run is right there on row 5 when you look at John Andretti. He went out early, laid down a lap that was actually fastest at that point, and gets in the top 10.
Well, you can see the guys that are up there in the top 10, and we always talk about this is where the winners have been coming from historically. But I think that Joe Nemechek brings up a very interesting point. We may be seeing a change in trends because of a double file restart, and plus the fact we got a lot of really good race cars. When you start looking back through there, like back on row 10, Martin Truex Jr., Greg Biffle. Further down, we're going to see guys like Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards. You can't count these guys out. I don't care where they start. They got great crew chiefs. They got great drivers, and they're going to figure out how to get this thing and make it work. So it's going to be an interesting Sunday.
Now remember, Jeff Gordon will have to go to the rear of the field of this race because they lost an engine in practice. So he will have to start shotgun just like a man named Tony Stewart did last week at Pocono.
And how about Johnny Andretti, 10th overall? Great effort by that team.
It really is. I mean, John Andretti, I mean, again, he's kind of like, to me, like Mark Martin. Everybody thinks, well, John's too old. He don't look like he's too old to me. He's still making it happen, whether it's here at Michigan or at Indy earlier in the month of May. This race car driver still can turn the wheel on it and make it happen.
And you know what I like? Even though I hate it from my old buddy Mike Skinner, the fastest 43 race cars will start this race on Sunday.
That's right.
Max Papis, the final driver in. As we said, Mike Skinner, the only driver with a DNQ, did not qualify. Brian Vickers headed off to do some more media work for his pole position. Let's take a look at the championship point standings. We are through 14 races in this 2009 season.
And I'm not, you know what, Steve, I'm not looking at the front of the pack. I am looking at the back right there, that number 12th through 15th. This is a time for these guys to be trying to make a move here. Burton, Ruderman, they've got to be hanging on along with Hamlin, but Mark Martin, Casey Kahne, Montoya, they need a mount of charge right now. Now's the time to try to crawl your way back up in that top 12 and start hanging on.
But remember, all that matters in 12 races is that you're in this group right here. But when you look right here, pretty much from Carl Edwards all the way down to Montoya, that's 10 race teams separated by 145 points. In other words, Montoya could go to 6th, Edwards could go to 15th leaving here in Michigan.
Yeah, Edwards went from 11th to 6th after his good effort at Pocono.
Carl does not want to hear that kind of analogy, Larry.
It is what it is.
I know it is, but nobody wants to be told how close it really could be right now. But we've got a great, I think, chase going on, and I don't think it's going to be ending anytime soon.
A look at our advanced auto parts menu on Speed. We'll have trackside. Jeff Burton and Brian Scott will join us. Oh, look at Larry Max.
Don't miss that show.
Get that telestrator away from him.
I found me a new toy, the little arrow.
Hey, if you're going to do that right there, you know where we're going to put you next week? We're going to put you right here on this show, NASCAR Smarts.
I don't know if that's a show for me.
Is that an oxymoron?
Let me get back with you on that one.
You said that, Steve Burns. I did.
I know what he was thinking. I'll go along with the Moron part.
But I think Ted Lakaitis, our producer right there, is agreeing with you. Hey, did he work with you on NASCAR Performance too?
He does. He's the one that produces that show, so be careful what you say. He'll cut your mic off.
But T.P. Barker's the man in charge, right?
Oh, where is TP? He better be rounding up parts and pieces. He's supposed to be in here.
You hope.
Hey, qualifying may be over, but hey, the show's getting ready to begin. Trackside, a little bit later on tonight.
Get us off there, Steve.
And don't forget about ARCA Remax Series racing. That's coming up.